So I'll just say a few words like this, and then I'm gonna put my lab jacket on, and then we'll start. I'm Betty Ann Newton of Wellness Aesthetics Education. I've been Wellness Aesthetics for about 20 years, on and off. I have had the pleasure of teaching many amazing women to warm their hearts and to feel nothing but love when they touch and when they perform their services. It's been a passion and a huge journey for me to have this opportunity to hopefully plant a seed in each one of us about love and compassion, and that when we perform our service, it's not just important that we're professional and we're perfect in what we're doing, that whatever we do or however we do it with love in our heart and with our client in our mind. I'm about to perform a facial for you, holding that love and compassion in my heart. I have a very beautiful model laying here, waiting my touch. When I teach, I often tell the students that I tell a story. I tell a story of the skin. I tell a story of how the epidermis renews itself every 28 days and how that slows as we age. And in that, just feeling more of a need or an urgency to help you to be the best that you can be and to have one more tool to help you be the best that you can be. So I hope that you gain knowledge, and more than anything, that this video helps to open your heart so that when you do touch, when you do your services, that you do touch with that love and compassion in your heart. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead, and we're going to go ahead and start by, as you notice, I'm touching my client and letting her know that I'm here, and I'm about to wrap her hair. So that's going to be the first thing I do. So you're going to go ahead and pull the hair back, and in this case I'm using a towel to also cover her hair. It's always important that you have some hairline showing so that you make sure that you're going to perform your service on the whole face. And so we're going to go in ahead and go into makeup removal. So when you go ahead and to anything that you do, anytime you're coming to your client to touch your client, you want to touch her somewhere else other than the area of attention before you actually get into what you're doing. So you can place your hands again on her shoulder or on the side of her face. When we are focusing our facials with loving intent, one of the biggest things is to do as much as we can so that our client truly has an opportunity to relax. And when you're removing eye makeup, you're not pressing on the skin. You're just gliding over to pick up any shadow or mascara or anything that might be present. Remember, if it's too stubborn, if it's not lifting, it's probably not going to move during the treatment. So you can maintain contact with your client, or you can opt to free your hand up to do what you're doing next. In this case, I'm going to remove some lipstick. So now I'm going to hold, again, introducing my touch, hold the side of her face, and I'm going to wipe from the outside corner to center, and the other outside corner to center. So at this point, you can use a makeup remover to lift the makeup off. You can go right into cleansing. In this case, we have a classic T-zone client, so we're going to go ahead and use a T-zone cleansing complex. I prefer to warm product up in my hand and then apply it to my client. Some people will product drop, but I really prefer to have it warmed up in my hand before I touch them. So now also I want to begin by cleansing her chest as well. And we can start by leaving our hands cupped and leave some on the chest. And like the wave, landing gently and stroking firmly, we can come up onto the forehead and the face, sliding back down to the chest gently. You can start to cleanse using little swims, which is like almost like doing a breaststroke with your fingers, and then you can make those strokes bigger. Onto the face. You can use backward C's. You can switch your fingers to effleurage. Anytime you feel like you're pulling at your client, you want to add a little bit of water, and that can be done one hand at a time. You don't want to break contact. Forehead. Bring the cleansing complex just down with your upward and outward circles. In this case, I'm going to use aesthetic wipes to rinse. You could use a towel. You could use cellulose sponges. Always making sure you're wiping off the back of your hand so that you're not dripping water on your client. Come in aesthetic wipes, and we can hold these with our thumbs, or we can actually wrap these around our middle fingers with our outside fingers, and then we can come in the center, wiping out. So effleurage, one hand stroking after the other, gently coming back down to begin where I ended. So now we're going to apply an exfoliant. This one happens to be a honey and almond scrub, and it's very safe, very gentle. I am going to apply this. It's going to feel a little bit cool on my model. I am going to apply it with a brush, and yet I am going to introduce my touch to her as well. So even though I'm holding the bowl, I can still touch her and let her know that I'm coming with a little bit of a cooler product. This actually feels quite amazing when you experience it. And again, you're kind of just being conscious about how you're touching and thinking about how that touch would feel. I'm just going to work that now with my fingertips, and you can add a little bit of water. For today, we're just going to go ahead and work the exfoliants. Just leaning in to check a little bit. Sometimes when we're working the scrub, it can go, on the lips too much, or it can go up the nose, and so it's just trying to have some control over your product so that your client doesn't get that feeling. You may choose to come right back into that T-zone area. One more time, working those areas of congestion. And then you want to come off where you started. So to rinse this, we're going to create a cotton mummy mask, and I'm using aesthetic wipes that I'm going to open and refold the other way, so there's a bit of stretch to them, and then we're going to apply it in 3 sections. Good. I usually leave the mouth on covered. You can press, you can do a little taplement over top of it. Good, and then when you're ready to remove, you're going to take the first one, or the one on the outside, and you're just going to wipe, and you're going to go all the way across. Doing the cotton mummy mask helps you to pull the granules off the skin, so this way the granules are coming in to the aesthetic wipe instead of falling everywhere. So when we come with a towel, we want to first check and make sure that the temperature is all right for our client. And then we want to unroll it with the fold closest to her throat. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. And depending on the skin type, if your client is a little more sensitive, you might choose to use just a lukewarm towel or a cool towel. Placing it on her chin, bringing it up. So I'm just giving her a second here, in the air, just to cool a little bit, but not too much. Good. We're going to hold the towel open with our thumbs, and we're going to wipe from the center out. So you can cleanse one side at a time if you like to, by keeping one side covered. And always making sure that when you're wiping, your strokes are still coming up and out. I'm always looking to make sure that, I don't have any product left on the lips or up the nose or in places like that, because I don't want my client laying there and thinking about that. I want them thinking about how good they feel, how relaxed they feel. Making sure that you put your used towel on a trolley or in a bin. You don't want to just put it on the bare floor. Again, that wouldn't feel very sanitary for your client. So still functioning properly, so we can bring it over to our client, and we want to make sure that when we're steaming that we have 16, 18, 20 inches away depending on our skin type, and that we have the steam coming to the forehead or the top of the nose. If we have the steamer in front and it's blowing up the nose, there's a good chance the client might not be able to breathe, or she might feel claustrophobic or anything like that. So this way, usually, it just is a better experience for them. I started doing this when I was dealing with problematic and acne clients, and they would have, blackheads and whiteheads and pustules on the side, and the steam didn't feel like it was getting to them. And then I found students just love the feeling of it, and so it's just kind of flowed from there. adds to the experience. So when I go to make cotton eye pads, I used to just set the cotton rounds on the eyes, but every time I moved the client's face, the cotton rounds would fall off. So if you take them and you place them an inch and a half on a Kleenex, you wrap your Kleenex around it, and then you give it a little twist in the middle. It actually creates a little bit of an eye pad, and you can really kind of play with it and shape it a little bit. And so when you cover the eyes, it enables you to see all of the skin. You're not really hiding the cheek area or anywhere else, and yet it's going to protect the eyes from the magnifying light. Alright, so I'm going to start to get ready to do extractions. I've covered your eyes now, so we can just take the big towel off and set it aside. And then I'm going to just finish getting ready to do the extraction. So I'm actually going to put on some rubber gloves. So every facial should include a skin analysis. So at some point right after you makeup remove, you should be looking at the client's skin and determining their skin type. In this case, I knew my client's skin type is a T-zone, and she does have a little bit of brightness to her skin, so a little bit of sensitivity, but overall does very, very good. Turning your steamer off. Now when you wrap your fingers, you can use aesthetic wipes or Kleenex. If you're using aesthetic wipes or Kleenex, you actually want to keep them double folded, and then you want to drape it over your pointer finger, and then you're going to fold it down towards your thumb and then fold the rest down. And then you can look through the magnifying lamp, or you can use the lamp as light, either way. And then once you've identified a lesion, you're going to stretch the skin out. And instead of putting pressure down on the skeletal system, you're going to stretch out and you're going to kind of pinch underneath the lesion and kind of pinch together and walk your fingers up. And that usually would bring the debris to the surface. So stretching out, you can get underneath it, and then you can just lightly tap, or you can wiggle and the debris should come to the surface. My model today does have a couple that are coming out fairly easily. On the tip of the nose, you always want to highlight one or isolate one. You don't want to try and just, grab the nose and squish it. You want to find one, stretch out, get underneath it, and wiggle, and they will come up and come to the surface. So tip of the nose, just being careful. The client has a little dehydration there as well. When you work the sides, you always want to work from the top to the bottom. You don't want to do it this way, or you might kind of over manipulate the client's nose and cause them some pain or discomfort. So from the bottom and then the top. And then you can just see that the crease will pop out, and you'll be able to clear any of the congestion that's in that area. So one more area on the face, just so you can see that if you stretch the skin out, you'll get underneath the lesion. So you want to isolate one, and then you would just get underneath it and the debris comes to the surface. Okay, and then you can just wipe that away once it's fully gone. Make sure that you know lesions of the face, of the skin, and which ones can be treated and which ones can't. That's really, really important. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to double tone. So after extractions, if you have high frequency as a piece of equipment, then you can do high frequency. If you don't, then you would double tone. So putting toning complex or an astringent on 2 cotton rounds and going over the skin, and then repeating that with 2 new cotton rounds. How are you doing? Good? Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to perform a massage. So always using a spatula to take your product out, and then you want to, again, you're going to put it in your hand. If you want to use the back of your hand, you can. It's a little bit of a pellet, so making sure it's nice and warm. And we're going to make sure we have some area on our client here to massage. So I'm going to start again by just applying the cream. So just like I did with the cleanser, I'm going to apply the cream all over the skin, and then I'm going to come back to where I started. So we can start by doing some full hand over hand strokes. And your whole upper body, if you move from the waist, you can do several facials in a day without getting too tired. Coming across the shoulders, gently finding that occipital ridge, and then stretch and release. Always gentle massage in the front of the throat, always very gentle. Eventually you're going to flow and work your way onto the face. Effleuraging until you get to the forehead. And then we're going to massage the frontalis. And we can start by making this motion small, a little petrissage motion. Procerus is right here. Coming across the frontalis, the temple area, hand over hand, coming across the brows. You can do some circles around the eyes. Especially during the massage, this is the time you should be thinking or could be thinking about, how beautiful your client is and how nice and soft her skin is and how much of a pleasure and an honor it is to have the kind of job that we have, that we can be present for someone and we have the opportunity to touch them in these loving ways. Focus touch. Brow stretch. Another petrissage. Still wanting to make sure that your pressure is light coming down. There's more pressure coming up. You can do some tap movement. This one is fingertips are just tapping the cheeks in 3, and then around the eyes for 3, and then back around the cheeks for 3. You can always come back to a move that you've done previously. You just don't want to do any one move too often. So I always look at splitting the face in half and then looking at the different zones. So from the middle all the way out to the outside edge of the face. And then sometimes you can come across the zygomatics and it will really help to release any congestion in the sinuses. You can feel free to use your music to create flow. And always thinking about that feeling of love in your heart as you kind of get ready to go back down to the chest. This time now you can focus a little bit more on the stronger muscles. When you do your head turns, there's 2 ways you can do them. You can just pick the head up and just turn it, so gently take it and turn it to the side, like so. That does enable you to use 2 hands if you wanted to do some gentle strokes down the neck and stuff. However, my preference is to actually come around the shoulders and then is to take one hand right kind of around the back of her neck and to roll her head onto my forearm. And then from there, I can go down the SCM, gentle pressure, firm up and firm. And I'm just kind of slowing down because I can feel a little bit of tension in that muscle. And now I'm going to grip with this hand over neck, and I'm going to take this one and I'm going to stretch that neck and shoulder out. And then when I go to change directions, one hand is just going to roll and replace the other hand. So you want that to be fairly smooth, and you don't want to be hiking the neck up too much. So always check with your client. If she's had any neck injuries, you won't want to do that. And you'll find that more often you are with your client, and the more experience you get during doing facials, the more your intuition will come in. And it's almost like something else tells you what the client needs. And when you touch your pressure points, you can just press and hold for the count of 3. Or you can circle 3 times. Or you can even tap 3 times. When you're finishing a massage, when you've decided that you've completed your 10 minutes are up, then you're going to go ahead, and it's a good idea to shake off the energy. So depending on the client, in this case just even a gentle little shake, you can recharge your hands, warming up your energy. And you can give this a spiritual aspect or not, because we are warming up our hands. They're going to feel the warmth from that movement of energy, but you can also add a little bit of intent behind it, and you can even think about the energy that comes from the universe flowing in to your body and coming out of your hands into your client, and then she knows where that energy needs to go. Her higher self will put that energy wherever it needs to go. Good. Depending on your massage cream, some products will be oil based, and you'll want to make sure that you rinse them off your client's faces, especially if they do have some congestion. Magic assistant, just hand me a towel. Then you're going to bring your towel up again. In this case, I don't really have to wipe at the skin. I'm just going to brush over it very lightly. I'm actually going to take her and cup her up just a little bit more now, because we're going to go into doing the final mask portion. Again, you're going to introduce your touch to your client, and I might whisper or let her know that this might feel a little bit cool. Say it's always the intent that makes the experience. So you want a fairly even layer. Of course, it depends on the mask and how well it's going to spread and slide for you. But sometimes I like to play a little bit more and maybe wipe it around the eyes and just give the client a little bit more of that luxurious brush sensation. So we're going to do a little bit of a treatment while our client's mask is sitting. Now, if I wanted to, I could have fixed her headband before I applied her mask. However, if you think you're going to scalp massage at that point, then there's almost no point. But at the same time, we can go into doing a bit of a scalp massage in which you can, really press firmly and move the epicranus underneath your fingers. And our ears are one of those parts of the body that really don't get a whole lot of attention. So it certainly is a nice time to massage the earlobes. So you can do full scalp massage, but I'm just gonna take a minute here and we're gonna do a little bit of a hand massage. So you always want to sneak your client's hand out wherever it's hiding, and you want to allow them to stay completely relaxed. So I always go ahead and I take the arm and I take the elbow in my hand. I'm going to hold her elbow up so that I can massage her upper arm and get that well hydrated. So when you do massage, it is important to massage the part that's closest to the heart first, and then to work away from that. You also want more pressure up and less down. So we're always putting more pressure towards the heart. So this time you can approach, you can also do some little circles. I want to rest her arm on the bed. And I've had clients that are a little bit wider, and so sometimes I'll just bring my knee up and I'll hold the elbow on the bed with my knee. That makes for a little bit of an interesting position for myself. But again, it's the client's time. They're paying for your time. You want to give them all of your attention. So now you can work the inner arm inside with both hands. When you're finished with that, you can come and move your hands around the wrists. Again, when you're one-on-one with your clients, you want to try and keep yourself, calm and relaxed, and keep yourself moving, at a slower pace. You don't want to rush yourself. You can work the palm of the hand in several directions. So working it up this way. Some people will put their fist in the client's hands. You can link your fingers. You can rotate their wrists. So there's several things you can do. Sometimes I'll just kind of shake and pull that way. Then if you want to, you can also put the palm down, and you can link your fingers with their fingers and pull the palm open, and then it gives you an opportunity to really work the inside of the hand. Whenever you feel like you're finished with the hand, you can get one hand that kind of follows the other hand, and you can apply a little bit more pressure. And if you've taken some massage classes, you can also incorporate other moves that you've learned, that's for sure. Always want to say goodbye to the hand and have the hand be able to put it back to where you found it. Good. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take another towel and I'm going to remove her masks. And if you want to, some estheticians will actually bring up both sides of the towel And so you can do that, that's not wrong. I tend to only bring up half of it because I tend to like to leave a little bit of warmth on the chest or the throat area there. When you go to remove, you still want to hold the towel and you want to press out. Some masks that are a little more clay-like are going to be a little harder to remove, but it's better to have some firm pressure in sliding that product off than it is to have to go back over. So if you were to just wipe gently and go over and over the skin, that could potentially irritate a little bit more than being firmer in your stroke. You want to also make sure that you move your hands down in your towel to find a clean place, or you'll just be putting more mask back on the skin. Okay, down from the nose and across the cheeks often works fairly well. You can also shift and get your thumbs in your towel to get into those smaller areas there. A little further, my hands a little lower in the towel. And this is another area that I'm usually wanting to kind of even getting up and having a look to make sure there's no product left, under the nose area there. Or like I have right now, there's a little bit in the throat area underneath the chin. So we want to make sure we grab that. Look at how beautifully clean she looks. Almost finished. We're going to go ahead and spray with Algo Mist. Algo Mist is a hydrating facial spray, and perhaps with your line you would have some type of a facial spray. Okay. And just letting it fall. So you don't want to spray at your client, you just want to spray above your client and let it fall nicely. And then we're just going to put two to three pumps depending on how dry your client's skin is, how rich your moisturizer is. But you want to keep it in your fingertips. You don't want to spread it through your whole hand. At this time, we're going to kind of say good morning with our hands a little bit more. So you can kind of, drop the product around, and then you can do some quicker little effleurage strokes, or you can press. So it's not necessarily hygienic to kiss your client at the end of the facial, but I'm hoping by the time you're finished that that's what you feel. That in your heart, you just are so in love with your client, you want to give her a kiss. Okay? So we'll have you not do that, but refrain and give her a hug at the end of the treatment. That would just be a wonderful way to end